businesses that people should know about? Be wise. Advertise. Book your spot on GBN Shopping Guide. Be part of Grenada's biggest advertising medium, the Grenada Broadcasting Network. Call our sales department now on 440-2446 or 440-3033 or GBN plus the number sign. Email us at sales@gbn.gd. Special conditions apply.
You mentioned the wing high, and you have things like Manu Moss come back, you know. We have the low pole there.
It is kind of like the same man, and it's just different name for the same kind of thing.
And last but not least, I just want to say to all the men who saw me, call me, and ask for piece of cake, I'm baking this weekend.
Join us Fridays at 8 on GBN Television, K105 FM, GBN's Facebook page, and YouTube channel for We Culture.
Who does man of the party? Tell them it's 4-7 trade. Shout it, let them know where we represent 4-7 trade. Who's the body's passing? 4-7 trade. They're not crazy like.
This could be out. Brilliant catch. What a stunning catch.
The biggest party in sports, the Caribbean Premier League, is back and live on GBN Television. Capture the energy, excitement, and euphoria of the beloved game. 34 matches, 6 teams, only one to be crowned champion. The action starts August 31st and runs until September 30th. Live on GBN Television and K105.5 and 105.9. It's no carnival, but you will enjoy the mass.
And you're kidding me! You are kidding me!
Let me say good morning to the entire trial in the state, Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. Good morning. Welcome to the point for today. It's Thursday, and it's the first day of the month of September 2022. Good morning to all the folks who are born within this particular month, inclusive of myself. So I always refer to it as the best month of the year. All right, actually, I will take a bit of a licking for that. In terms of folks who maybe come on and say, hey, come on, he's boasting of the month. Yeah, the best month of the year. So good morning once again. Let me say good morning to my viewers this morning. Those of you via GBN TV, welcome. Thanks for being with us this morning. Those of you via our social media page, Facebook, those of you via, or of course, our YouTube channel, let me take your time out and say good morning to you all. Sincerely hope all is well with you this morning. And one and all, once again, thanks for chiming in. We should be having our guest with us this morning, of course, from the Royal Grenada Police Force. They should be chiming in with us this morning. And so we're going to get them online shortly. They will be us via, of course, our YouTube channel. They will be with us this morning. So we'll be getting into that shortly. So once again, welcome to one and all. And certainly hope all is well with you this morning, all our viewers and listeners out there. Let's take a short break while I get, of course, my guests all settled in just a wee bit so that we could certainly accommodate them. We're coming right back. Don't touch your dial. Stay with us here on To The Point. We coming right back.
New mortgage, we need it.
As GBN brings you coverage of this year's Hero CPL, there will be some adjustments to our programming lineup. On Wednesday, 31st August and Thursday, 1st September 2022, transitions will be aired at 5:05 p.m. GBN TV News will be at 6 p.m. and repeated right after the CPL match. Transitions will be rebroadcast after the GBN News repeat. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere with sports coverage.
services that people should know about? Be wise. Advertise. Book your spot on GBN Shopping Guide. Be part of Grenada's biggest advertising medium, the Grenada Broadcasting Network. Call our sales department now on 440-2446 or 440-3033 or GBN plus the number sign. Email us at sales@gbn.gd. Special conditions apply.
No, that's not how you cross the pedestrian crossing.
Really? One day I just woke up and I saw pedestrian crosswalks on the road. No one really showed me how to use them properly.
Well, this is how it's done. You never cross before doing these things. They might save your life. First, when you get to the crosswalk, you stop. You look left, you look right. If there's a vehicle coming, you put your hand out, making eye contact with the driver, indicating that you want to cross. And only when the vehicle comes to a complete stop, you quickly cross to the other side.
Stop, look, hand out.
Welcome back, one and all. It's to the point for today, Thursday. I had to take a short break just to get my guests all settled in, and I have certainly taken care of that this morning. And usually on Thursdays here at On to the Point, we do, of course, accommodate the folks from the Royal Grenada Police Force. And of course, this morning we do have a representative from the Royal Grenada Police Force. That's Officer Adele Lewis. He's with us this morning, and he's from the Community Relations Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force. Let me go over and say good morning to Officer Adele Lewis. Good morning to you, sir. How are you doing?
Good morning to you, sir, and good morning to the wonderful listeners of GBN.
All right. Well, good morning once again, and certainly welcome. And this morning, you're representing the Community Relations Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force. And as a brief intro, per se, for the benefit of the listeners and viewers out there, give us one of the fundamental responsibilities of the Community Relations Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force.
Well, the Community Relations Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force, we are the media arm of the force, so more or less in terms of the information that would be put out there to members of the public in terms of releases. The Community Relations Department does that. We also investigate complaints against police officers. So when someone believes that they are not treated as they should, or they have some concern about the way in which a police officer may conduct their duty, the Community Relations Department is the department with the responsibility for taking that report and investigating that report.
Okay, so you're basically saying, I have an issue somewhere. Could it be a police officer or something within the police force that I like to report? That's where the Community Relations Department comes in and sort of helps with that.
So we deal with complaints against police officers. Complaints of a nature that can be handled by stations closest to you. So I want to reiterate that we deal with the complaints against police officers.
Complaints basically against police officers. All right. But we're not complaining about police officers this morning. We want to talk about, we know now we're getting into a new month. And this particular month is where it leads to the reopening of schools and so forth. And where does the Community Relations Department fit into this? Where does the Community Relations Officer Department per se fit into the reopening of schools and in terms of that? How can you share some information with us to the listening and viewing public?
Yes, I would like to start by
Before you proceed, I'm not sure if it's I don't think it's an issue on our end, but your audio level, it seems to be very, very, very low. I'm not sure because I'm doing max here in terms of the audio level, so I'm not sure if it's our issue. I'm not sure if you could have that rectified for us and sort of get that taken care of.
Second, let me see if I can improve this. you heard me any bit?
100%. 100%. That's a go. All right. So we can continue.
Yes, sir. All right. Let me take the extra second to recollect my thoughts. Yes. This morning we are speaking on the topic back to school, and I would like to start by reciting a few lines from possible the greatest Calypsonian that ever lived and is still alive today, and Agreeable, one of the best songs ever written on the subject of education. And I'm speaking about that song that the Mighty Sparrow did in 1967, titled Education. Now, one can do many things at school. You can make friends, you can learn to play a sport, but one of the most important things that a child can get at school will be an education. Mm-hmm. And of course, the boundaries of education reaches far beyond CXCs and O-levels and certificates, etc. But education also encompasses that person being taught discipline, respect, and team building principles that will guide that school or that student into adulthood and ultimately in the workforce, be it the private or public sector. So I want to say that being a student is your responsibility while you're at school. Not being a big man, not being a big woman, or any in between, but that child should focus on being a student. Yes. So I want to start this morning by pledging that the RGPF will continue its partnership with the schools, and that in terms of our presentations, one-on-one with our teachers, students, principal, and that positive engagement where we highlight a number of critical issues and give the students the skill sets and lessons that they can take and become better young persons and be able to make their contribution towards society.
All right. Now, Officer Lewis, tell me, what are some of the plans the Community Relations Department, in terms of the new school year that is starting, what are some of the plans that the Community Relations Department have for schools in this particular school year coming around, or term per se?
All right. So the last school term, we focused very heavily on presentations, and we addressed topics such as illegal drugs, offensive weapon, safe use of the smart devices, and the intention is to continue in that line. I want to say that for the new school term, we want to focus this morning presentation by speaking to parents, and we sort of divided into two sections. So we are looking at the first timers, and we advise parents on the importance of having the name tags on the young students, and I'm looking at the preschool level and probably a little bit lower. And that name tag should contain that student name, the name of the parent, telephone number and address. You can also have the school number as well as the name of that school. What that would do in the event that that child becomes lost or separated, one can use that information to quickly reunite that child with that parent, guardian, or caregiver. And as you know, for the younger ones out there, that might be the first time that they're leaving home and being separated from their parents for any significant time. And that could be both frightening as well as exciting. And we want to do all that we can do to ensure that the children are comfortable. Now, the debate over what age parents should allow children to ride the public buses by themselves will continue. What we stress this morning is that as far as is practicable, parents, guardians, caregivers should consider being on the bus with the young students. And for the more or less the beginning of that school term, until that child becomes comfortable in riding that public bus, they pick up and drop off points. Another thing that they can also consider is that of getting the private buses, because I believe that those buses normally go onto the school compound and will drop the child back at home. And that in itself will eliminate some of the things that can go wrong on a public bus.
All right.
We'll also like to speak to the parents, those that are living in walking distance of the school. From a very early age, teach your children to safely cross the road and to use the pedestrian crossing. And I will pause to just add here that in my tenure as a police officer, I have observed parents with the toddlers and those young students, and they will witness the police officer on the crossing and still try to cross the child outside of that crossing, sometimes weaving between vehicles, which are dangerous. If we are going to teach the children to do or to cross the road in such a manner that early age, and we're teaching them to break the law and to commit traffic violations, it's natural that when they get older, they will continue doing so. So this morning, I really want parents to take that point.
All right.
Teach your children how to safely use the pedestrian crossing. You stop, you wait. If there is an approaching vehicle, you do not cross until that vehicle slows down or stop completely, allowing you to safely cross the road.
All right. Let me ask you this, officer, this morning, pertaining as you on the topic, or more you stuck a bit on the topic pertaining to parents. Now, what are some of the advice the Community Relations Department would like to throw out to parents, per se, especially parents with their young ones who are just going to school, in terms of people who prey on young children and so forth? What sort of advice would the Community Relations Department would like to give to parents?
All right, so I like that you bring up that point, because we also have some advice for the older students. And at this time, I want to take the opportunity to just thank all the nation's students, especially the ones that are focused, the ones that are exemplary students, and demonstrate a high level of respect for themselves, for peers, for teachers, and persons in institutions, higher institutions. We also have to acknowledge that there are students that may not be so dedicated and probably need to strengthen themselves and make some improvements as it relates to their conduct. So this morning we want to address the issue of using the smart devices. And we are saying that, yes, we know and we acknowledge that there are students that go to sites that are prohibited and inappropriate, where predators may roam, and often those predators seek to take advantage of the naivety of those students. So we are saying to you this morning, parents, pay attention to your children. From time to time, you can check those devices. It is a learning instrument and it should be used as such. It should not be used for sending and transferring photos of body parts, be it of that student or someone else. We are also encouraging, where there are breaches, that such breaches should be reported to a parent or a teacher, principal, even the police. Because as the law stands, you might just be committing an offense, one for which there would be consequences. So it is important that students be cautious on that issue and that they comply with the expectations of their teachers in terms of the use of the smart devices.
All right. No, in terms of we're moving to another level now. We know from time to time we have the issue where students who sometimes want to defy authority for a wee bit in terms of the behavior. Where does the Community Relations Department fit into that, in terms of how do you fit in terms of, is it going to the school, or should the school report it to the Community Relations Department, or should it be from a parental point of view in terms of having issues like that straightened out? How does the Community Relations Department, or what kind of advice per se do they give?
Fortunately, the RGPF on a whole has developed a strategy in terms of how we engage our schools, and throughout the school year, it's not uncommon to find officers visiting the various schools and doing presentations. And we addressed various topics, including the one that you are speaking of. We do have an issue with loitering and, students after school refusing to go home, those that hang out in the back of the mall and other prohibited places that are usually haven for negative behavior and negative activities. Now, most schools do have a policy as it relates to that particular issue, and that usually becomes a topic whenever they have their PTA meetings and assembly. Be it as it may, the problem still continues, and it's one where the RGPF have deployed strategies. So we do have patrols, and that is inclusive of both foot and mobile in hotspot areas. We also firmly and cordially engage students after school, those that are lying in the vicinity of the bus terminus. So great effort is made to have those students get onto their buses and to safely get to their homes. Now, I want to add here that there is a correlation between negative behavior and poor grades. A student that is concentrating on liming in the evening and engaging in deviant behavior, maybe consuming prohibited and narcotic substances, is a student that is likely to struggle in the schoolwork. As a student, your mind and your mentality should be that you're focusing on getting an education and being the best student that you could be. Now, life is choices, and if you choose to hang around in those areas and to engage in that behavior, you may find yourself in a spot of bother. So we are encouraging this morning that practice be discontinued. Having said that, there is a very vital and important role for the parent to ensure that the children come from school at the right time. If that child does not have a planned extra school curricular activity, then there may not be any reasonable reason for that child to be coming home at night or late or at some unreasonable period. So it's important that parents be vigilant and actively engage their children as it relates to that.
Could I also add, could the parents engage the community relations department in terms of asking for assistance in terms of students for their son or daughter per se who may be getting into those mischief, if we'll use for a simple word? Is that possible?
Well, that's a frequent phenomenon. There are many parents that take the opportunity to bring their students to the community relations department. And apart from the community relations department, I want to add, we also have the special victims unit, and there are other stations that are equipped in being able to engage young students and in that area and to help in providing information that can lead to behavioral changes. So while the community relations is a principal body in terms of that, but it's still possible that they can make use of the closest station to them as well.
All right, Officer Adel Lewis with us this morning from the Community Relations Department here on the To The Point for today, Thursday, the 1st of September. We're taking a short break and we come back with more information that we can gather from Officer Adel from the Community Relations Department. Let's take that break. We're coming right back.
As GBN brings you coverage of this year's Hero CPL, there will be some adjustments to our programming lineup. On Wednesday, 31st August and Thursday, 1st September 2022, transitions will be aired at 5:05 p.m. GBN TV News will be at 6 p.m. and repeated right after the CPL match. Transitions will be rebroadcast after the GBN News repeat. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere with sports coverage.
business to grow? Do you have an event, products, or services that people should know about? Be wise. Advertise. Book your spot on GBN Shopping Guide. Be part of Grenada's biggest advertising medium, the Grenada Broadcasting Network. Call our sales department now on 440-2446 or 440-3033 or GBN plus the number sign. Email us at sales@gbn.gd. Special conditions apply.
No, that's not how you cross the pedestrian crossing.
Really? One day I just woke up and I saw pedestrian crosswalks on the road. No one really showed me how to use them properly.
Well, this is how it's done. You never cross before doing these things. They might save your life. First, when you get to the crosswalk, you stop. You look left, you look right. If there's a vehicle coming, you put your hand out, making eye contact with the driver, indicating that you want to cross. And only when the vehicle comes to a complete stop, you quickly cross to the other side.
Stop, look, hand out, eye contact. Wait for pedestrian to cross to the other side, then you happily continue on your journey. This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
You know, one day I woke up and, they painted a set of pedestrian crossing all along the streets. Nobody told us how to use that thing properly.
I know how.
You're serious?
Every safe, good driver knows about these things. As a driver, you have to be very attentive. You know you're coming up close to a pedestrian cross?
Welcome back to our listeners and viewers this morning to GBN TV, or those of you who are viewing, I should say, via GBN TV and listening via K105. May I remind you folks, don't forget Caribbean Premier League cricket continues on GBN TV and K105 Radio from 10 a.m. this morning. So looking for a bit of an early cutoff from to the point this morning, and get ready for the games for today. Who will be playing today? We're looking at St. Lucia Kings for the men teams versus the Tobago Knights Riders men team playing from 10 a.m. this morning right here on K105. You can hear that here on K105 and also on that GBN TV is a CPL. So those of you who are lovers of cricket, you can certainly get yourself all geared up for that. So we're back here on To The Point this morning. We're talking with the Community Relations Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force. We have Officer Adele Lewis with us this morning. Let's go back to Officer Adele Lewis and say good morning once again and welcome back inside this segment. Officer, let's move on. We certainly spoke a lot in the first segment of our discussion this morning. We spoke a lot about parents and how they fit in, but we can still continue on the trend of parents. And, an idea that has just come to mind pertaining to when we say to parents, from time to time, children do take to school items that are not needed for their learning process on the day of school. You understand? Youngsters, parents may be busy in the morning trying to get their son or daughter to school, so they do sneak little things into their backpacks. Now, what sort of advice would you like to pass on to parents, to say, in terms of looking at these things? Take a minute or two. We know you're busy in the morning, you got to go to work and everything, and other things are on your mind, but there are things youngsters will carry to school that are just not needed for the part of their learning process for that day. Give us some advice on that you would like to throw to parents.
Yes, and I know sometimes that we normally associate with parents checking the school bag with students that probably exhibit delinquent behavior. Mm-hmm. But I want to say that it is possible that an honored student and an A student could have a situation at school, and maybe for a moment of weakness, they are unable to make wise decisions. They may choose to carry an instrument in their bag, and it might just turn out to be an offensive weapon. And so we do advise parents that from time to time you can check. I know the term searching of the school bags sounds a little bit harsh and a little police-like, so I prefer to use the term checking of the school bags. checking the bags also allow you to look at the items that are in the bag, and it is possible that a child can bring home something that is not his or her property. And as a responsible parent, you have an opportunity to contact the school, get in touch with the principal, and look at ways you can amicably solve that issue. So checking off the bags is very important.
All right. As we move on this morning, folks, and that is certainly a very, very advisable there to parents per se, because, I for one, being a parent myself, I have seen it happen where my sons, per se, take things to school that are not needed for the education. You understand? We talking. It could be as simple as simple, pieces of stuff from home per se, or toy or something for that. Because we more be focused on I'm more focusing on the younger age, but then you go back to the older ones per se, who may take those weapons and for some reason they may be bullied at school per se and feel, well, that's maybe complaining, and they may not be getting the results that they want, and for some reason they're thinking, well, I want to take matters into my own hands. Being the community relations department now, let's talk in terms of advice you would like to give, especially to the older students who go to school and for some reason the other having those issues in terms of bullying. How does the community relations department would like to advise, especially for our parents who are listening right now? Even there may be students now who are preparing to go back to school, and for reasons like that, the bullying and so forth takes up that part where they want to go to school with those offensive weapons. What sort of advice would you like to give, especially to the parents and even to a youngster who is listening right now, in terms of offering them some help?
Yes. Well, as you know, bullying is any unwanted one party by virtue of probably their strength engaging in a behavior that threatens or to harm another party and makes them uncomfortable. In a school environment, I believe bullying is something that we would try to eliminate as much as possible, but that's an issue that's going to come up from time to time. Mm-hmm. I recall earlier on in the year we had a lot of issue with students fighting, and the videos that were just popping up frequently, and we recognize that our students need most, even well-wishers. And so we encourage students, if you have an issue at school, school has a management, and you can go to your teacher. If you are not satisfied with the way the teacher handle the issue, you can go to your principal. There is your parents, and there is still the police. There is the Ministry of Education. Now, these are all support structures that are put in place to ensure that you have the best educational experience. And I'm encouraging you this morning that you do not leave out any of those help support structure that you have, but make use of it. Also, it is important for students to make right choices. Yes, you might be bullied. Yes, the other students may laugh and ridicule, but consider that you might take an action that may result in that student being harmed, sometimes even fatally. What would become of you going forward? So you got to think about your actions, because every action will have a consequence. As I stressed much earlier on in my presentation, school should be about getting an education and enjoying that educational experience. Everything that school have to offer, be it playing in sport, getting engaged in a drama class, enjoy everything that the school have to offer. You don't have to play Batman, you don't have to play big man, you don't have to play big woman. Going along those lines most likely will land you in a spot of bother, and that's something for you to consider.
All right. One question that just come to mind is when you mentioned in terms of conflict resolution and so forth, and in terms of some of the feedback you gave in terms or examples per se that youngsters could follow. Now, the Community Relations Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force. I'm assuming from time to time you may have to go into schools and speak to students there pertaining to conflict resolution. What are some of the conflicts that the Community Relations Department has seen over the years that has bothered you folks a lot? Let's say the police, the Community Relations Department, that you think some urgent attention need to be given to.
Well, there are particular communities that have challenges that are unique, and sometimes the conflict would grow from the community and spiral into the school environment. I must say that we are very grateful that we have a situation whereby we have a close working relationship with most of the principals, and they would not hesitate to call the police. So very often we are coming in when the incident is at its early stages, and that allows us to sort of take command and control over the situation. And I want to also add that in handling those reports, we make it a requirement to have parents from both parties present, increasing the amount of positive minds and mature persons in that setting, thereby creating, the best possible situation and the most influential voice, or voices I should say, to speak to students in such situations. So I must add that we have a very, very good relationship with our principals and the Ministry of Education. And we see it as an issue where the police and the schools naturally have to work together. And that relationship have resulted in a lot of students moving away from deviant behavior. We have students that used to give trouble. Now they are honored students, A students, and we encourage that trend.
All right. Now, do the community relations offer any terms of counseling to students in any way of the sort? Do they offer that?
The fortunate thing about it is that most schools do have school guidance-based counselors. The Ministry of Education have saw it fit to really provide that level of resources. So more or less, we come in as a extra support, but within most schools, that help is available to our young students.
All right. We due for another break. Let's take it, and we're coming right back with more from the Community Relations of the Royal Grenada Police Force. Let's keep after this short break. We're coming right back.
One day I woke up and they painted a set of pedestrian crossing all along the streets. Nobody told us how to use that thing properly.
I know how.
You're serious?
Every safe, good driver knows about these things. As a driver, you have to be very attentive. You're coming up close to a pedestrian cross, you start slowing down immediately, looking to see if there's any pedestrian on the side getting ready to cross. If there is, you stop on the line that is a certain distance before the crosswalk. Then you would see the pedestrian put their hands out, looking directly at you, indicating that they are going to cross. And only when you have come to a complete stop, that is when they will quickly and safely cross to the other side. And then you continue happily on your journey.
Stop, look, hand out, eye contact, wait for pedestrian to cross. Then you happily continue on your journey. This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
Feel good facts. Remember, if you have flu symptoms, do the right thing and stay at home to avoid giving it to others. Remember, you can be infectious up to a week after developing symptoms, so rest up and take it easy.
Welcome back once again, folks. It's To The Point for today, Thursday, the first day of September. I keep saying it's one of the best months of the year, folks. I know a lot of folks. I've been getting some messages today. Why are you saying that? Suddenly have my reason or reasons why. Anyway, we're back once again, folks. It's To The Point. We do have, of course, Officer Ada Lewis from the Community Relations Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force. And we've been speaking a whole lot this morning pertaining to, school reopening, youngsters headed back to school, some of the do's and don'ts, and a lot of advice has been thrown out this morning to help youngsters just to make themselves better as an individual as they head on back to school. Help for also parents, things that they should look forward to when their sons and daughters are heading back to school for this particular school term. Now, Officer, once again, welcome back to The Point this morning. We're certainly inside our final segment this morning before we take a wrap for today. I may remind you, listeners and viewers, once again, don't forget we got CPL Cricket coming up for you from 10 a.m. this morning, so you could certainly tune into GBN TV and K105. Now, there's a question that I thought I didn't ask during our conversation before. Now, this time of the year, youngsters heading back to school, especially though you did mention it earlier briefly, in terms of youngsters heading back to school and buses per se. Now, we know how the public transport diverse these days in terms of youngsters being on school, going to school, especially youngsters who use buses to go to school and stuff like that. What sort of advice would you like to give, especially to parents who allow their sons and daughters, maybe those who are a bit more grown in terms of their behavior and so forth, and even in terms of, you maybe want to throw this out there, probably a driver who's driving along on the Nation Road this morning, a bus driver per se. What's some of the advice the Community Relations Department would like to throw this morning pertaining to that?
Yes, I would like to start by recognizing the busmen for the role that they play in getting the nation's children to and from school. Now, we are aware there are those that are doing an extremely good job, and they take their job very seriously. They are not reckless in terms of how they drive. There are those that ensure that the children conduct themselves well on the buses. But we do have a couple rogue drivers that engage in behaviors that are not necessarily in the best interest of the children. And so this morning, if I may speak to probably the Bus Association, because that's an issue that you can look at as well in terms of speaking to your membership in how they transport children. We want it to be a safe experience. If the bus can only hold 10 persons, it can hold 10 persons. I have seen situations where the police had to get involved with drivers that want to put 6 little children in front of the buses. Sometimes they overload the buses because they believe that they are smart. That's dangerous. That's a practice that we strongly urge that you discontinue. We hope that you see the danger in doing so. Again, we would like to really and truly thank the busmen that do take their job seriously and are doing that extremely good job. Your partnership is needed, and we recognize the value that you bring in terms of the children getting their education, but things have to be done orderly, decently, and in a manner that safeguards the lives of all that are involved.
All right. Officer Adelos, we strapped for time this morning. We may have to take a wrap for today's program right around now. Now, before we wrap this morning, what are some key advice you would like to throw out, especially for students, parents, the nation as a whole, in terms of what they can do to help make the learning experience for youngsters heading back to school in the new term? What's some of the advice you would like to throw out before we take a wrap this morning?
Well, I would encourage our students, make the best out of your school experience and your that learning opportunity that you have. You're going to grow up, you're going to get old, maybe as old as me, and then you will start looking back at your childhood, and this is when the errors and maybe certain behavior that you're engaged in going to stick out like a sore. So basically, I'm encouraging you to make the best. Listen, learn, have respect for peers. You know, if you have a conflict, be reminded that you have a school management, you have your parents, there is the police. Make use of the support structure that is given to you. Every student in Grenada should be thinking about, you know, being the best that they can. We have our young examples that we can follow, you know, the Anderson, the gentleman that chose that javelin there. You know, we have positive young men in Grenada doing a lot of great things. And one thing we cannot say as a country is that we do not have examples. We have examples that we can follow, persons that have done great things and are raising the profile of our nation, and you should be thinking in line of that. Parents, remember that you have a responsibility towards your children. Do not cuss the school, and you yourself are not even taking an extra second to speak to your child, to do a little homework, to check the parks, and to play your role. Let us all play our role in ensuring that our children have the best educational experience possible on the planet.
All right, Officer Adel Lewis, I want to take your time to thank you for sharing all the information that you did this morning. Very fruitful information, and I certainly hope the viewers and listeners out there did understand a lot, and as will, of course, put it into practice in terms of making, of course, this school year and for the future a whole lot better for the students out there as a whole. I want to thank you once again, Officer Adel Lewis, and hope we can do this again, even as the school year per se goes in. There's more we could actually discuss pertaining to this. I want to thank you once again.
Thank you for having me, sir.
All right. Hey, folks, that's how we wrap up To The Point for today here on K105 and GBN TV. Don't forget, coming up at the top of the hour, it's CPL for you folks, and today's game, which starts at 10 a.m., just in about 10 minutes or so from now, we have for you the St. Lucia Kings, that's the men's team, versus Tobago Knight Riders. That's another men's team, and that game kicks off from 10 a.m. this morning here on K105 and GBN TV. So those of you who are lovers of cricket, well, you're in for a treat today, and I certainly hope maybe one of the teams that are playing today, or maybe a team that you will be throwing out your support to. So certainly you will be glued to your televisions or listening to your radio. That's why we say thank you once again for all those of you who are viewing To The Point this morning, whether you are viewing via GBN TV, Channel 7, Channels 11, or Channels 20. Thank you so much for taking the time. With those of you listening via K105, thank you so much for listening. Until we have another edition for you of To The Point, which most likely will be tomorrow morning. Have yourself a great day. This is where I say IGT. Yeah, say have yourself a lovely day today until we have another edition of To The Point for you.